What's up? Welcome back. John Stark, MacMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today I'm doing a recap of The Walking Dead, Dead City, Season 2, Episode 4. So strap in, grab Lucille, click like and subscribe. Actually, why don't you use Lucille? No, you'll break your device. Don't use Lucille to get the subscribe button. Just click subscribe naturally. You know, I'd like to. I'm not too far from 500, which is like halfway to 1,000, which is, you know, like the big threshold that everybody's trying to hit. And then I'd like to keep going from there. I'd really just like to be able to speak to the largest amount of people, because there aren't really any blind film critics that speak to a wide range of people, which is why the show doesn't have audio description on AMC Plus, which is why AMC Plus has been allowed to continue to propagate without really exploring audio description. So I watched it without audio description, and this is my recap. This is my understanding of what happened without audio description. So when's last we left off, Maggie and the crew were left in Central Park, and I think it's Central Park anyway. Maybe it's not. They're in the park. Granted, I haven't heard the word central yet. Maybe I'm making like a wild assumption based on New York. It could be another park. Maybe it is. But they are in hiding with the little sort of park people. It's still just the little cohort of people. So the main characters, and the Negan's little girl, what's her name, Jenny? Yeah. She has very little to do this episode, although she mentions, because I'm just going to keep calling her Daya because I can't remember what her name is, from Orange is the New Black, Dasha Polanco, says something to her like, why are you here? And she's like, I'm here to kill the man who killed my father, which we know is Negan, which is sort of a weird take, because Negan kind of reminded her, like kind of, or I think he did anyway in season 1. I think he admitted that he did it, but like her dad was not like a good person. So I think it was like a give and take. So it's weird that she's avenging the death of somebody who, it's not like Negan killed somebody who was like, I'm a nice guy. He's not doing that again. So, maybe she just said that for like reasons, but she's not really there for that. Maybe she's there to protect Negan. I don't know, but that's the first time she vocalized for a character that didn't really talk for all of season 1. She's starting to speak now, and then we kind of leave because Maggie, Herschel, and Abernathy, I think that's his name, I don't really care, Gaius Charles, who was on Friday Night Lights and Grey's Anatomy, so they leave the area to go kind of scout, and what's happening at the same time is that Negan and the Croat are taking Dama, and the historian. They're all rolling up on this museum that has been taken over by the Bruja. Great. And Bruegel, or I don't know, something like that. It's Kim Coates, who I will always remember from Sons of Anarchy. I was a huge fan of that show. And this is not a role that I would have thought him in. He's sort of this like sort of artistic, almost theatrical style character. I was expecting like Sons of Anarchy. No, he kind of was very much like a Daryl Dixon-ish type in Sons of Anarchy, and I was expecting maybe something like that. No, he's doing something completely different here. And he's the leader of a group that Dama needs to sway in order so that they can fight New Jerusalem or Bethlehem or whatever is coming. I have New Bethlehem on the horizon because I'm also recapping Handmaid's Tale, and I know it's wrong. So it's new something, I know it is, but I have too many news that are happening. So, to stop them from invading and be able to put up a resistance. So they have to strike this balance. And, he's remarking on how he's got all this art, and he talks about this one painting, which is, I think, Washington crossing the Delaware. He's like, isn't it crazy that this painting went for $15 some million? And what does it even mean anymore? I mean, really, they don't have money. It's art doesn't really have a price in the same way that it used to. He clocks the fact that three people look like they belong, and so they have to explain why the historian's there, because he's clearly not like there for reinforcement purposes. He's not a heavy. So she explains that she's got this historian. I really just do not understand this woman. What is he what? Why? But then I think this goes into something that we see play out later on, where she works people and earns their trust for other purposes, not for the purpose for which she's saying she's doing it, but she's keeping him along for something else, is what I think it is. I think she's always 10 steps ahead, which is why somebody who has no combat skills is in charge, which we don't usually see. Pretty much everybody who has, except for, I would say, Hilltop. Hilltop did not have somebody who was ready to fight. But pretty much in all of Walking Dead, whoever's been the leader of a group at any given time has been able to fend for themselves. Maybe, I guess, Dina at when they went into, but that was such a protected community. Like, they went into like suburbia, and that thing was walled off, and they weren't really fighting anyway. They were sending Aaron off with like bottles of water. Like, I don't think they didn't really have like an army. That was kind of their problem, which is why that they needed Rick and his team. Anyway, I'm on a tangent. I just was thinking so much about the franchise. So yeah, it's interesting that she wouldn't be able to defend herself if the Croat and Negan suddenly decided to go, you know what, we've had enough. So, but they go into this meeting, and I think they eat raccoon or something. I don't know, it just sounds gross, but it's the apocalypse. Like, what are you gonna do? So, food is food at that point. And they're deep into the apocalypse, so anything you find in a store is definitely expired at this point. Even the Twinkies. That's a Zombieland reference. So, yeah, there's sort of like clearly the Croat is not feeling the Brujah, and the Brujah also doesn't know how to pronounce the Croat's name or accent or whatever, and maybe that's what offends him. I don't know, but they're clearly not getting along. So the Brujah mentions that he'll join, but he wants methane. Like, he wants to be able to build a methane facility in the museum, and that's his term. And Dama does not want to do that. So the Croat tries to, he uses the stick, not the carrot, and Negan uses the carrot. So Negan notices that they mentioned that they have this fighting zombie who's won like 26 matches. He's undefeated. Negan keeps calling him Frankenstein. So like some giant walker, I guess, who Negan's like, if we fight your guy, and the Croat thinks that they've been feeding it steroids, and that's why it's like juiced up. But Negan says, well, you let us find our own. We'll pick our fighter, and if ours wins, then you join, no questions asked, and if ours wins, then we'll give you what you want. And Dama thinks that that's such a bold thing on Negan's part. But Negan's also somebody who is playing like a different kind of chess game. And he's a couple steps ahead. So he goes out and grabs like a random walker and throws it in there. They oil it up to kind of make it so it's harder for the thing to grab. And Negan's in the ring for a couple seconds and he clocks the other walker and it's not a walker. That's how they cheat. Is it's some dude who's dressed up and like morphed into looking like, for somebody who walked around in whisperer outfit like attire, who used to wear human flesh to get around as a whisperer, so that he could look like a walker. This dude knows, you know, he had mastered that art. That's what the Bruja doesn't know, is like Negan's past. So even I don't think the Croat knows about the whisperers and that kind of past. So Negan has an ability for noticing a human dressed up as a walker. So I think he clocked that that's what it is, and he kind of gets it proven so that way it becomes obvious. And then so suddenly, to everyone who thinks that, you know, they just have the strongest fighter, they know that they're cheating because they're not actually fighting with a zombie, they're fighting with a human. So that's why they keep winning. It's not a zombie versus zombie fight, it's a human versus zombie fight. So Negan, you know, leans on the Bruja, and then that guy ends up just saying, even though I won, we're just going to agree to the terms of the original agreement, and no methane. We're just going to join as a measure of goodwill. And so Dama gets what she wants. And it earns Negan a ride in the back seat. So that's sort of the main through line of the episode. The other things I didn't mention that happen in and around all of this is Maggie and the team sneaking up on the mansion to try to get in. They see that Negan's in there. Maggie's like, I have to go talk to Negan to try to get some information. So Negan's shocked to see Maggie. But how he gets her is, and there's a thing earlier on where Dama, Benjamin, I think is the name of the historian. So he figures out who Dama is. Dama was just a theater critic. So, bitch, you better watch out, because I might be ruling the zombie apocalypse. You never know. It could be me next. So she was a theater critic that was known for writing scathing reviews and just tearing things down. And then he explains that somebody wrote sort of a satire about her, and that it was an altercation, and she's like, I bit him. She bit the guy who wrote the show. So a little bit of a fallout before the zombie apocalypse. And then she mentions Herschel's drawing, and she says, like, our friend Herschel. And there's a reference to the fact that, you know, that Herschel has been on Dama's side this whole time. She talks about the smoke signals. She was like, yeah, who do you think sent us the smoke signals to let us know they were coming? So I guess Herschel has actually been working for Dama this whole time, which is such an interesting dynamic, because he's walking his mom into a trap, but maybe he thinks he has some sort of deal with Dama where Maggie would be safe. He and Maggie would be safe, and then like everybody else would just be the ones who'd be killed. I don't know. Herschel also bitched earlier in the episode where, you know, Maggie and Friday Night Lights were talking about how they wanted to, you know, like what food would they eat again if you know, what do they miss the most? And she'd like Kit Kat, and he misses like sandwiches from bodegas. And Herschel, who is like the worst, he's been the worst. I've said this in like every single episode. He's like, I don't understand. It just seemed like everybody was just trying to kill each other for power. And I was like, that's not 100% accurate. Yeah, there are douchebags. Definitely there are douchebags right now. Check your news feed. um, and we elect him into power. Pause for effect. So, yeah, I mean, he's not totally wrong, but he also doesn't seem to have an awareness of the fact that that's what people are doing anyway. And maybe it's more like a symptom of a man that we just keep doing this, like struggle for power thing, as we try to find a place in this world. It's not really something he's going to be able to cure. So if it's something that he's an ideology that he's picked up from Dama, it's not really one that's going to pay off for him. So when Negan meets up with Maggie, he mentions to her, he's like, I can't give you anything. She has, and then Maggie picks up on the fact, like, what does she have on you? And she realizes it's Annie and Joshua. So Negan, even though it looks like Negan's free and walking around, he's like a trained pet at this point. So Maggie kind of backs off and is like, can you give us anything? And he gives her like the location of the facility, and that's it. Not like how to get into it, not anything else, just like where is the facility? And then Maggie has to get out of there. But the thing that I didn't like, the thing that I thought was dumb, and a lot of people, I've heard some people who are like, oh, it's so cool. It was so cool to hear it. So Maggie signals Negan with the good old savior whistle that Negan used to do all the time. The problem is the Croat is there also. And that was the way that Negan summoned the Croat to him. You know what I'm saying? So like Negan used the whistle before in season 1 so that the Croat was like, Negan? Negan? And somehow this time he doesn't hear it. Bullshit. BULLSHIT exclamation points. That is the most convenient nonsense I think I've ever heard of in my life. That the Croat suddenly goes temporarily deaf because the plot needs him to be. He's just like the one thing that they needed as a huge part of the plot was for season 1 suddenly doesn't work on him in season 2. He's like, I don't hear as well anymore, I guess. I don't he doesn't react at all, nothing. So Negan hears it, and Dom's like, where are you going? He's like, oh, got him, shit, piss, can't, bathroom. He goes and talks to Maggie. So Maggie's originally with Herschel and Friday Night Lights, and sends them away because Negan's like, just like he's trying to talk to just Maggie because he wants to talk about Herschel. So he tells her about Herschel. She didn't believe him, but at the same time, they talk about rendezvousing. And Herschel and Friday Night Lights had plenty of time before they left because Maggie still has to get out on her own and creep around. And when she gets outside, Herschel's not there. It takes a minute for Herschel to show up, even though he left way before. Where was Herschel? With Dama. We see a scene where Herschel runs in with Dama. Not only is she not surprised to see him, she's actually happy to see him. So we don't hear the conversation, but it's definitely reinforced what Dama has already suggested and what Negan just mentioned to Maggie, that Herschel's bad, which is an interesting twist for baby Glenn. So it's nice because I hate the character, and if Herschel has to go, then Herschel's gotta go. But they have not written his character very well. He's just been kind of a whiny teenager the whole time with no discernible skill set. So there's no real reason for him to be here. He doesn't really do anything or offer anything to the show. I could say that about basically every single new character that they try to write into the Walking Dead universe because they don't really invest in them. We're already invested in Maggie and Negan, and it's really hard for them to invest in things when they have 6-episode seasons. So this is not a format for sustainability of new character introduction. So yeah, and we'll see where this goes in the next episode. We got 2 more this season, unless they expanded the season. Last season was 6, and Daryl Dixon runs 6. So I don't know why. Are we going to 8 now, maybe? Daryl Dixon didn't get an extra episode count for its 2nd season, so I don't know why they would change. Anyway, my official grade is unwatchable due to lack of audio description, because it always is, because I'm always missing things. And I did have to use a little bit of help online. I did have to look up a couple things that I was questioning in order to, like the Negan in the ring thing. I did not pick up on that's how Negan knew that the walker was human. I picked up on it at the end, and I was trying to figure out what time, when do we figure it out? Because there's a scene towards the end where Brad has to kill Frankenstein, and Frankenstein speaks, and I'm like, I know we introduced that a little bit in The Walking Dead, but pretty much everybody thought the smart walker thing was dumb, so I don't think they're trying to continue to do that. Remember the walkers that they introduced towards the end of The Walking Dead, who like had communication skills and actually like seemed to have some level of intelligence? Yeah, that didn't go over well. Anyway, so that's Dead City. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I will see you guys on the other side.